Thank you for joining. Anybody else there, say hello. Apologies for that. YouTube decided that I needed 1,000 followers before I can live stream. So sadly, I won't be live streaming to YouTube anytime soon unless I get 1,000 followers. So because it's a very snowy day outside, I thought let's try something new. I'm going to be making a Sri Lankan prawn curry. Now remember, this is my take on it. So with the Independent Foodie, everything is unique. We try new flavors, and Sunday is experimental kitchen. So anything could happen, new flavors, and let's see how we get on. Hi Magesh, thank you for joining me. What I'm going to show you now quickly is the ingredients we're going to be using today, like I normally do. So I'm going to take the camera away from myself and onto the food. Okay, so for today we're making, like I said, it's an experimental prawn Sri Lankan curry. We're going to be using onion, so I've got half an onion, which is half a large onion, some curry leaf, some red chilli for garnish, and some cilantro or coriander, whatever you want to call it, and that's also for garnish. Now the spices we're using today is very, very minimal spices. We're using a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. We're using a large teaspoon of chili powder. So I'm using Kashmiri again because I like Kashmiri because it's milder. And we're using these mustard seeds. So we're using about 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds that's going to be going in. And there's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt on the end there. And then we've got the star of the dish, which is the prawns. We've got roughly 300 grams of king prawns in here. They've been, the black sort of vein in the back has been removed, so that's still being cleaned. We're going to be using some lemon juice, and we're going to be using half a can of coconut milk. And then you've got some desiccated coconut. We've got jaggery, which is raw sugar and basically unrefined sugar. And we're also using tamarind paste. So that's 1 tablespoon of tamarind paste, about 1/2 tablespoon of jaggery, and 2 tablespoons of coconut. I've also got ginger and I've also got some coconut for toasting. So that coconut's going to also end up in there eventually, and that's for the garnish at the end. Like I said, it's experimental today, so we're just going to cook along and see what happens. Just turning the pot on. That's going to be on medium heat, and that's going to be on roughly 5, and that's going to cook roughly about 25 minutes for the entire dish. I've also got what's happening in the pan. Right. So that's my roughly, yep, about 1 tablespoon of oil going in there. Okay, because we put so little oil, the oil warms up very quickly. Now what we're going to be doing is adding the onion. So we've got half an onion, like I said, and we want this onion to cook. No chili is going in. The chili is for the end, that's the garnish, so just the onions. Just go in there. And you just want those onions to become translucent and then slightly caramelized later on as we start to add the things like our mustard seeds and our spices that we're going in next. Okay, so onions are in the pan. I'm going to move that up to 6 and just turn the second ring on my plate on. Yep. Now when you're slicing your onion, it's very important that you get them sort of not too small, because you still want to have some sort of texture in this curry. So if it's too fine, you're going to lose that onion in that curry. And because we're using a tomato base as well, it's important that you have a bit of texture from the onion. Just so you that sort of it. Start to sizzle, and then we know we can add the mustard seeds. Okay, so happening here. Craig Gownsden and Melissa, welcome. Nice to see you on here. Oh, just to recap for those who just joined us, we're doing an experiment today. So it's Experimental Sunday here at the Independent Foodie's kitchen. And we're going to be trying out a Sri Lankan inspired prawn curry. And I say it's inspired because it's not the exact recipe that I'm sure they make in Sri Lanka. It's my take on it. You'll see some unique ingredients going in there tonight. Just to recap what we've done so far for those who just joined us. We've just put some onion into a pan. We're going to be using prawns. We're going to be using jaggery, which is a unrefined sugar, coconut. We're going to use tamarind, a bit of turmeric, a bit of chilli, mustard seeds and salt. And as I sort of take you through the dish, so you're lucky you've joined when you did, because now you can get to see what we've done so far. So just to quickly go back, hi Selvi, thank you for joining us from South Africa. So just down there in the pan, you can see the onions have gone in. They're just starting to sweat at the moment, and that's great because the temperature is just right. Remember, we only cook with a tablespoon of oil. We want to keep things healthy. It's so important right now, you know, especially with people suffering from heart problems, etc., and cholesterol problems. You want to make sure that you're eating, you know, less oil where you can. Right, so that's gone in. The next step now we want to add is our 1.5 teaspoons of the mustard seeds. So that's your mustard seeds going in next, and they shall start to crackle and pop in a second as they sort of go through. So mix those up quickly. And with that, I'm also going to be adding my ginger and garlic. So roughly, like I said, it's about 1.5 teaspoons of ginger and garlic. You can use, for this recipe, traditionally you would use fresh ginger and fresh garlic. You grate your ginger in, you cut your garlic up very fine. I'm cheating today. I'm using the pre-minced ginger and garlic, which most of us have in our fridge. So it's 1.5 teaspoons going in for that. Okay, now just let that sort of fry off. Nobody wants raw ginger and garlic in their mouth. Just let that paste sort of sizzle a bit on the stove. Remember, we're cooking on medium heat, so it's on 6 at the moment. And just letting that sort of cook off. And then you can see over there what's going on in the pan. Now, very important is your spices. Now remember, these are raw spices. You want to make sure you cook them. Like I always say, some people prefer to add them after they add their meats, especially if you're cooking a normal curry, like a chicken or a mutton curry. I tend to add my spices at the beginning with the onion, so they actually fry off, so we can roast them a bit. Things like garam masala. So garam masala is fine because it's already been roasted and ground. I tend not to. So in there we've added the teaspoon of Kashmiri, which is a heaped teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of the turmeric, and we've also added 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, we're going to mix that up nicely in there, and just get that. And at this point you can get the lovely smells coming out of there, the Kashmiri, the lovely smell of the ginger and garlic together with the onion. Unfortunately, there's not smell-o-vision, so you can't smell what I'm smelling, but hopefully when you try to recreate this dish, you'll get the same lovely smells coming through in your kitchen. Okay, so we're just going to leave that now to simmer for a bit. I would say another 3 or 4 minutes. Just let that simmer, and then what we'll start to do is then to add our other ingredients. I'm now going to add quickly, just going to drop in some curry leaves. I'm going to use about 5 or 6 curry leaves, and this is something that doesn't typically go into this curry, but I thought I like the smell of curry leaf, and I know recently speaking to a friend Richard, he said he just bought some curry leaves as well, and what a massive difference it makes to your curry, especially those lovely flavors and these aromas that come into your kitchen when you sort of put the curry leaves in. And that's just to add an extra level of depth to your base. Now remember the base so far, for those who just joined, we've added mustard seed, we've got onion, we've got turmeric, we've got chili powder, and we used the Kashmiri chili powder for this one, so it's a teaspoon of that. And then we've also used 1/4 teaspoon of the turmeric and 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds. That's all just sort of frying off nicely in there. Okay. So we're also going to be using coconut milk in a bit, so that's about half a can, that's 200 ml of coconut milk. We're going to be using 300 grams of prawns, and those are king prawns. And we're using 200 grams of tomatoes. We've got the fresh tomato in here. That's going to be going in. And I've grated my tomato, so it's in good shape for going into the pan. The onions are sweating off still. They're looking good. going to leave that for another 2 minutes. And it should be, like I was saying earlier on, Sunday is all about experimenting. These are just sort of new concepts that I'm sort of coming up with and I'm practicing with, because some of you may be aware, we're putting together a cookbook. It's called the Independent Foodie Friends and Family. And what this is going to be, it's a collection of my favorite foods, my friends' favorite foods, and recipes from family. So anybody who wants to submit recipes to me, we'll have a look at them, and something may be tweaked slightly to give it a different flair to it. But if they're great recipes and we try them out and we like them, it'll end up in the book. So, you know, that's something that's coming. It's a project that will probably go throughout the year, and aiming to have the book ready around December. So that's something just to be aware of. Okay, so just back quickly to the pan. The onions are now nice and translucent. The flavors have all come through from the spices. Take it off there. Okay, just show you that quickly. So that's sort of where we are at the moment. At this point, what we want to do is add your tomatoes. We're also going to be adding, at the same time, the tamarind. So we're using a tablespoon of tamarind paste. It's going in. We're also adding the jaggery, which is a tablespoon or half a tablespoon of the unrefined sugar, and 2 tablespoons of coconut. Okay. Right. I'm just going to mix that up and let that cook. So what you essentially have in the pan now should look like that. You can see the coconut in there, you can see the tomatoes going in there, and the next step is to let that cook together with the coconut milk, and we're using half a can. Now I know people probably thinking you're mixing tomatoes, you're mixing coconut milk, it just feels a bit weird right now. I felt the same way, but we're going to give it a go and see what happens. Yep. Half a can, that's 200 mils gone in there. And what we're going to have now is this lovely sort of base for the prawns cooking away in the background. That's going to cook for about 10 minutes. And what I'm going to be doing, there's a lovely smell of coconut coming out the pot. And at the same time, what I'm going to start doing now is I'm just going to put it up to about 7 so it cooks a bit faster. And I'm going to start to toast off this coconut. So there's another roughly 2 tablespoons of coconut that's going in there. And that's going to be going on top once the actual dish is cooked. And there's a bit of garnish together with the coriander and the fresh red chilli. Okay. When we add the prawns in, we'll also be adding roughly about 2 teaspoons of lemon juice in there as well. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. I'll be checking in soon, and then we can talk through sort of any of the questions that you might have around the dish, or anything you have, any questions you have around cooking, or anything you want to know about the Independent Foodie. We can have a little chat while we wait for that to cook. It's going to be about 10 minutes or so. Hi Tanya, nice to see you. Seema, thank you for joining as well. Great to see you all on enjoying the Independent Foodie. Thank you, Magesh. I hope it tastes yummy. Like I said, it's an experiment, so I haven't tasted it yet, but I'm sure that it will be great. I've only had one dish go slightly wrong on me, and that was an experiment as well, but that's how you learn, right? It's about trying new things and seeing what happens with it, and that's how you get your new inspired dishes. So it's starting to cook, the milk's starting to cook, so just keep mixing that because you don't want it to really boil. So I'm going to drop the heat back down to 6 and just let that simmer and let those flavors infuse into the coconut milk. My mouth also waters whenever I look at my food, and so does my friends apparently. And that's the reason why we started cooking with the Independent Foodie. You know, we're all in lockdown globally at the moment. It's a massive challenge for most people. So this is my way of giving back and keeping people sane, but equally keeping myself sane. I guess, you know, we've been in lockdown now in London for almost just coming up to a year in March. So it's probably about 10 months. Let's call it 10 months. And it's been a really challenging one for most people because we keep going into different tiers of lockdown, like you have been in South Africa. It means that people's mental health is suffering. You know, I've lost lots of family last year through some people suffering with mental health challenges and other people sort of just, you know, naturally dying from various different ailments. And what it's taught me is that, you know, this year is all about human kindness. It's about love, and it's about being there for each other. It's about growth as well, and about learning new things. And I thought, because yesterday when we spoke about this, we spoke about how do we make a difference for each other and how do we show that we're caring for each other. And it's the simple things that, you know, picking up the phone and talking to someone, having a conversation, because we don't realize that somebody may be going through something that's really, really painful or traumatic, and they just need to know that someone's there for them. So, you know, whatever you're doing in the next couple of days, people you haven't spoken to, friends you haven't spoken to for a while, just pick up that phone and have that conversation because it's so important that we do reach out. So quickly I'm going to bring you back to the pan so we can see what's going on in there. Oh. Okay, so we're bringing that down to, I would say now about 4. And you don't want to burn the coconut milk and the coconut that's in there. Okay, and then right about now, that's still cooking a bit. I think we'll give it another 2 minutes and then we'll add the prawns in and let that cook for a bit. So what you currently got, what you should be seeing is something that looks like that. And that's the base of your Sri Lankan prawn curry that we're making. So for those that just joined, it's a Sri Lankan prawn curry. It is purely an experimental curry today. We've added turmeric, we've added chili powder, and we've added some onion in there. We've got tomatoes that's gone in there, coconut milk, fresh coconut, some curry leaves, mustard seeds, ginger and garlic. And the next step of that, I think I just overcooked my other coconut in the back, so bear with me a second while I get rid of that. It's slightly toastier than expected, but we might use that. Okay, right now I'm going to be adding my prawns to the dish. This looks like it's in a good shape. And we're going to let these prawns cook to about 5 or 6 minutes so that your prawns are actually cooked, right? So that's 300 grams of king prawns going in there. I wish I could invite you guys over because I'm not sure I'm going to eat 300 grams of king prawns, but it may have to be lunch and dinner tomorrow as well at this rate. Okay, so let me quickly show you what we've got at the moment in the pan. For those that can't see that fork. And, okay, so currently it looks like that. We've got the prawns that are about to start cooking in there. So at this point, I will put the lid on and just let that cook. What I'm going to be doing now is just turning up the heat slightly to about 5 and letting that cook. Now you don't want to burn those prawns and you don't want to burn the coconut milk. You want to keep those flavors fresh. Also that coconut is brown. Start that up again. This happens in life cooking, things do go wrong and they will go wrong. So let's grab the fresh coconut. Roughly you want about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to turn that up on 1 and let's let that toast for the next couple of minutes while we're waiting for this to cook. Yes, Magesh, the Uber is waiting outside. The minute it's cooked, it's on its way to you. Sheila saying they've just done what's up with South Africa. Yeah, Sheila, I know South Africa, the time is it's time different, so you know when people have just eaten and they're full and enjoying their last bit of their weekend before they go back to work tomorrow. Here in London, we tend to eat around 7-8 o'clock. Today was a sort of one-off on a Sunday because I wanted to experiment and I wanted to try out YouTube Live. Unfortunately, when I went on there, I didn't realize that I've got to have 1,000 followers before they let me live stream. So if you all just sort of follow the Independent Foodie on YouTube, we'll eventually get to 1,000 and I can cook on that for you as well. So just quickly coming back to the pan. and to show you where we are at the moment. It's taking shape. The prawns are going pink. It's looking quite nice. Okay, I'm going to show you that quickly. I've still got another 3 minutes to cook in there. But what you got now is something that looks a bit like that, and that's just going to keep cooking. And you've got this lovely smell of the curry leaves coming through. You've got a bit of the garlic, and then you've got this lovely coconut smell. Let's not do that again. So let's take this off the heat. That's nice and toasted. Okay, happy with that. And then you've got the smell of coconut. There's lots of coconut in this dish. There's very little oil again. We only use a tablespoon of oil in there. And then we're going to obviously garnish it in a couple of minutes. Now you want to make sure your prawns are cooked. The great thing with prawns, when they're cooked, they turn an orangey pink. And these are starting to turn the orangey pink. They're starting to sort of get that slight curve in them because they start to shrink a bit, which is great. So we'll say another 2 minutes and then we'll garnish that and then we'll show you the final dish. So it's almost there. Yeah, so we're talking about Marion. Yep, Marion, yes, coconut's a lovely smell. It's great. And when we can meet again, Marion, that's going to be on the menu. I know you're not a massive fan of prawns, so I'll make something, an alternative for you. But I'm sure Richard will enjoy the prawns when he's around the next time. Hi Mandy, thank you for joining us. Hope you're excited about cooking biryani next week. So next week, Saturday, we are doing a biryani. We're doing a lamb biryani, and that's going to be lamb biryani live. What I've done is I've taken my mum's authentic recipe from how I remember eating biryani when I was younger. Biryani has so many different ways of making it. You know, there's so many different ways of cooking it. There's different types of biryani in London. You can go to a restaurant that just serves biryani. And the one I'm doing is a very traditional one, which most of us will recognize because everything's cooked in the same pot. There's no layering involved. You just chuck things in. But I've tweaked Mum's recipe because, you know, we have to modernize slightly. So I'll be adding yogurt to mine and marinating the meat the night before, whereas Mum never used to do that. And equally, I'll be frying off my potatoes with a bit of turmeric before. So little tweaks to the biryani just to make it a bit unique, but equally keeping the basic structure that Mum had in her biryani. So I hope you're looking forward to that next week. Don't forget, that's at 5 o'clock, I think. Yep, it's 5 p.m. UK time next week, and it'll be at 7 o'clock South African time for those joining. I know Mandy's very excited. She's the person that asked me, yep, Magesh, that's a Tamil biryani, that's correct. I am Tamil because of my heritage, so I'm proud of that. Yeah, it's a Tamil biryani. And Mandy, this is especially for you because I know you asked when I sort of first asked everybody what do they want, and you came back and said a lamb biryani would be lovely. And the prawns are lovely and cooked, so I'm going to quickly show you that before I garnish it. So if you look at the prawns, sorry, it will help if I turn the camera. So if you look at the prawns, you can see that the prawns are nice and cooked. Let the steam go. Yep, there you go. Now what we're going to do, and the garnish for this, is to take this coconut. So you're taking your toasted coconut that you have, and you want to sprinkle that on top. And then you're going to just take your red chilli, just chuck those over the top there. And then a bit of coriander, just for garnish. Okay, and there you have what I call my Sri Lankan inspired prawn curry for today. And I'm going to be having that with some rice. So thank you for joining me. It's been great chatting to all of you, and thank you for always being there as friends and giving me the support as we develop this channel. Yep. Yes, Ashila, you're right. It's always good to marinate meat the night before for biryani because what you end up is much tender meat, especially in a biryani, and that's what you sort of want to do. Joy, thank you for joining. Unfortunately, we've just finished the live stream, and I'm just going to quickly show you again what we made, and that is the Sri Lankan prawn curry, and I'll be sharing the recipe and the method on Facebook later on. So once I've had a chance to taste it and to plate it properly, I will share the pictures and the full recipe so that you can try it at home when you get the opportunity. So thank you again, everybody, and have a lovely evening and the last of the weekend. And, you know, hope you have a really great weekend ahead, a great week ahead, you know. If ever you need to speak out or you need to talk to somebody, and if you're going through a hard time, know that I'm here for you. Just reach out on Facebook or you've got my phone number. And it's lovely to see all of you on this Sunday. Take care, God bless, and see you soon.